Hi, welcome back to the editing and post-processing section. And in this video, we'll start off with learning Photoshop, which is probably the most popular photography editing software out there. There are other ones also like Lightroom, which we'll be covering soon. Picasso, you've already covered. Now, Photoshop might slightly be more difficult than other softwares to learn. That's why many people run away from it. But trust me, it's not. We'll be covering at least the essentials in this video series. So I really suggest that you invest the time to learn the skill of Photoshop because it'll just do wonders to your photography. So first of all, before we start with the basics, how do you get Photoshop? There are two ways. The standard way is to just subscribe to Creative Cloud. So earlier, Adobe used to sell this they used to sell Photoshop as a product or like just as a one-time paid software, so you could just pay a certain amount of money and then have Photoshop forever. But recently they've shifted to a subscription model called as Creative Cloud, so you can subscribe to this and it's very cheap. It's just 500 rupees a month, and you can subscribe only to the photography section of it. Otherwise the whole thing costs slightly more expensive. But when you subscribe to the photography part of it, you get access to Lightroom and Photoshop. So my suggestion would be that you go this route because this is the right way of going about things. And also you'll also always be getting the latest tools and functions. Whenever an update comes, everything is taken care of. So you basically you can just focus on editing and rest everything is taken care of. But let's say if you don't want to invest money right now, what you can do is another way out for you is to use something called as Photoshop Portable, which is a light version of Photoshop. It's free of cost, and to be frank, I was just lucky to find this, and I don't know how long it's going to last. So but the thing with this, in the description they mentioned that it's a trial software, but to be frank, I used it for months and it never ended. So if you want to try Photoshop, of course it's not the latest version of Photoshop that you'll get with Photoshop Portable, but you'll get most of the tools that I'll be showing you in this series. So if you're not very sure of subscribing right now, you can go the Photoshop Portable way and download it. So another thing is that this is not for Mac, so this is only for Windows. So in case you're not able to do this, I would suggest that you go the right way and subscribe to Creative Cloud. So anyway, that's one decision that you'll have to take. But once you do manage to get Photoshop somehow, you open it and you'll see something like this. So we'll start off with some basics, and I really suggest that you go through this video very attentively because there's just some things which will be shown in this video which will form the foundations for the subsequent videos that we'll be learning in Photoshop. So some of the techniques that I'll be showing you here, the basic techniques, they'll be used again and again. So let's get started now with some basics. So how it all works in Photoshop is that when you have to open an image, you go to File and click on Open. And for this basic video, the first one, we'll be using two images, Basic 1 and Basic 2. So first of all, open Basic 1. You can open them together too, and then open Basic 2. So you can see everything works in a tab-like format, just like we're used to seeing in our browsers when we are surfing the net. So for example, if you just click on this image is active, and you can see it comes as a layer. So this is called as background because this is the initial image or the original image. So you'll soon understand what layers really mean and how they function, but that's for later. Just very basic stuff. Before that, you have these functions on the left side. So let's say if you just want to, most of them are not really essential for beginners. So throughout this video series on Photoshop, I'll be just showing you the ones which really make a difference. So for example, let's say a crop tool, you're all used to it. So let's say if I had to crop this, just press this select area and press enter and it gets cropped. And if you don't go back, either you can undo crop or just press Ctrl Z together. So this and rest of the stuff here I'll just be showing you later on because it's not that important right now. Let's say if you wanted to increase the brightness, just like the things you've been seeing in Picasa. So just with the layer selected, of course, just press this round circle that you see here, and if I just do that, this thing comes up and I can select, let's say, brightness and contrast, and I can just raise the brightness. You can see it's become really bright or really dark. So, and whenever you do that, a separate layer for that particular function will come. So since I use the brightness layer or the brightness function, a layer for that has come. So if you don't want the effect of this, you can just drag it down and put it on the bin. So we come back to our original. So don't get confused by this. Even if you're not following the layer things and how this brightness layer came, it's perfectly fine right now. You won't have to understand it all. So again, the basic functions are here, like black and white. So it'll turn into black and white. Don't worry about all this. That's fine. If you don't want black and white, just pull it down, delete. So these are some basic functions you will just get used to in Photoshop. But what I want to show you in this video is a very important technique which can be called as, let's say, superimposing technique. Basically, we are putting two images on top of each other, because this is a technique which is almost used in all Photoshop techniques, and you'll be seeing it a lot in most of the techniques that I'll be showing you in this video series. So just pay attention. It's very easy to understand. It's nothing tough. So how it works is, let's say we have two images, basic one in which the smiley is this side, and basic 2 in which the smiley is this side. So what I want to do is I want to put this image on top of this image. So how you do that is, first of all, select this image and just drag it out holding your left click of the mouse. And once you've dragged it out, select this move tool here. That the first tool that you see, you're going to be using this a lot, is called the move tool. So you'll see this cursor turn like this, and then what you have to do is just drag this image holding the left mouse button, drag it on top of this. You can see the plus sign come, that means it's ready to get dragged, and just leave the mouse button, and then just close this. So what you'll see is I have this image, and on top of that I have my basic 2 image. So what I want is I just want to make sure that, let's say, I've got this here, and you can see now we had the initial, for the basic 1 image we had the background layer, but since I've put this, the other layer on top, this is layer 1. So you can see this image. If I just hide this using the eye icon, you can see this is the original image, and this layer is hidden now because I've pressed this eye icon to hide it. If I bring it back, this is what you see. If I hide it, you will see the original layer underneath it. So we have 2 images now instead of 1, or 2 layers instead of 1 layer. So I'll just put this back on. Now what I want to show you, so now we have basically 2 images which are on top of each other or superimposed on each other. And how this works is, suppose, let's say I want an image in which both the smileys are together. So all I have to do is just grab the eraser tool from here. You can see this is the eraser tool. If you use Paint, one of the very popular softwares that has an eraser tool like this, just grab the eraser tool, and you can, if I just start to, with this layer selected, layer 1 which is on top, this one, if I just start to erase this part, what will happen is, whenever you erase something, what is underneath it will start to get revealed. So if I just erase this, you'll see that the image underneath it starts to get revealed like this, and now we have an image in which both of them are together. Basically what I've done is erase this. Can you see this has become transparent, the left side of it, because I erased it, so this got revealed. If I hide it, it's still that layer, but if I put it back on, we have both the smileys. So in actual practice, we actually don't use this eraser to do this. We use a technique called as layer masking, but I won't teach you that right now in this video series because it can be slightly complex for beginners to understand. But once you finish this video series, I would suggest that you learn the technique of layer masking. So that's layer masking, M-A-S-K-I-N-G, right? But not when you're a beginner. Initially, just use the eraser for the superimposing technique and it should be fine. So make sure you understood this technique, that you put 2 layers on top of each other, and since I wanted to reveal this, the left part of this image, I just erased the left part on the top image to reveal what was on the bottom. So we've got an image in which both the smileys are together now. So you must be thinking, what's the use of this? So in the subsequent videos where I'll be showing you a lot of techniques, it'll become clear to you as to why we are doing this. And once you understood the superimposing technique, just some other basics are like, suppose now if I want to save this as an image, as a new image in which both these smileys are together, all I have to do is go to File, go to Save As, and just select the format as JPEG and give it a new name. Maybe I can just call it Basic 3 and just save it. So that'll save it as a new image which will look like this. So whatever you see, if you save this as a JPEG image, this is what you get. And if, let's say, you wanted to continue on this later on, but let's say you didn't have time, so then you can save it as a Photoshop document, which basically saves it as a project. So you can come back later on, and when you open the Photoshop document project, all the layers again will open up, so you can work on them anytime you want. So you will save as and set it to PSD, that is Photoshop document. So we'll save it as a project. You can give it a name, and so that's how. They are just the very basics of Photoshop, and I know it can be just very slightly overwhelming when you see, if you're seeing this for the first time, but that's completely fine. When you actually see the application in the videos which will be coming up now, you will understand exactly what's happening. So just bear with me, come to those videos with me, and you'll understand what's happening. I promise you it's not tough at all. Just pay attention to the superimposing technique that we learn. This will not be used in all the videos. Some videos will just have very basic effects, so it'll be very simple also, but few of the techniques, like for example levitation photography, noise removal, all this will make use of the superimposing technique. So don't get overwhelmed. I'll be there with you, and we'll start off with the next videos, where in each of those videos we'll be covering some sort of popular technique used in Photoshop to get some kind of an amazing effect on the image that we're editing. So I'll see you on those videos. Bye for now.